Good afternoon, Jesse.
Hey, what's going on, Paul?
I don't know. Are you ready to roll? I'm going nuts here.
Now let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, I saw in Oregon you're a special kind of guy now.
Okay.
I saw that you don't have to wear a mask.
What do you mean you don't have to wear a mask?
You don't
Kind of
have to
run
wear,
that one.
you don't have to wear a
Run that.
mask
Run that by me.
in Lincoln County, Oregon, unless they've recently changed the law. You don't have to wear a mask because they're afraid that people will think because the pigmentation that you have on your skin is different than mine that you might be considered a criminal. So
That's any different than any other time? With how we have a mask? Give me a break.
I just thought it was interesting that if your skin color is different, you don't have to wear a mask, but everybody else does because we're trying to avoid making this quote unquote pandemic worse than it is.
Worse, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really get that, but since the people of color, African American community is being hit so hard by the COVID virus, that would be kind of the thing you do to tell the guys to wear a mask, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
To protect and serve. I mean, again, it's like, are people really that stupid? Oh, excuse me. That's a repetitive question.
the rhetorical question of the day. And then, in real estate, evidently now, and I guess we're not going to use the term master bedroom, master bath, or it's going to be called primary.
Isn't that PC?
Yeah. So I'm sure that's going to solve a lot of problems, but
sure it will.
They're starting to change all the input information for that because I guess that's going to make everything better. But
yeah, well, it's kind of like the pendulum swinging both ways. So it's too conservative. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I think we'll go back to what we have always been saying, and that is, man, you almost just have to completely turn off the news, be kind to your neighbor, be kind to that person you meet on the street, just get along, and things will work out. I think it's gotten to the point this week where, you and I being seasoned individuals,
yes,
are thinking that we're probably not going to talk too much about current events and all the politics of it today. Probably what we should do is start prepping ourselves for the big holiday in a couple days. And
absolutely. And what does Independence Day mean?
Yes.
So that's what's confusing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope people start to think about that as we get closer and really, really dwell on the fact that a lot of men and women from all different places around the world came here to support an idea that we could all be, free. And even though we have issues that we have to fix, there's no doubt about that. We're still the best place in the world to live. And we should
if you look at big picture, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
People died. Okay. I heard an interesting comment from a World War II vet he was an American who was of African descent.
Okay.
So that's why I'm going to start whenever I describe somebody. So folks who are confused become less confused. So he was talking about, it was funny, when the bullets were flying, everybody was in the same foxhole. And then when the bullets weren't, then people had time to make different comments. Now remember, the military is a reflection of the world. So can people say they experienced racism in the military? Damn skippy they can. Can they say they experienced it every day? Sure they can. But the thing is what you do with that energy versus, this whole movement, I'm 100% behind. As long as it's peaceful protest. Look at Martin Luther King and what he did. And then you look at that whole thing. And my parents were involved in that dearly, coming from Alabama and Mississippi. So and I was raised with that. And then got to see it in other countries as I traveled the world and had a better concept and understanding of what people who were displaced went through. But the big picture is, if we can't get along with each other in this country unless there's a war, we're screwed. We're done.
I agree. I agree. And I think, unfortunately, that might be the hidden agenda of some. They want that to happen. And that's why I keep trying to emphasize that, we have to treat each other as individuals, and
Yeah.
let's base our the outcome and our opinion
Interactions.
interactions.
Yeah.
Let's base it off of that, not a certain group saying we have to do this or we have to do that, because it's too easy to lay fault. um, if you're doing it as an individual basis, then it's just you and
Mhm.
that other person. It's pretty easy to figure out what's right and wrong.
Yeah. Simple. Burning a building, looting, rioting, that's not part of what you're doing with a peaceful demonstration. When you start throwing cans, rocks, lighting things on fire and throwing them Molotov cocktails, throwing them at police who are 95%,
Mhm.
90, maybe 97%, good folks. But think about it. As a cop,
Right.
what percentage of good individuals did you deal with on a daily basis?
Yeah, I usually dealt with the 3%, and I think,
Yeah.
like we talked about, I think that's part of what needs to change. Is we need to have more training, maybe move people around a little bit, so everybody realizes, including the cops, that most people are good. Most people want the same thing for their families.
Hmm.
They want to. That I'm reminded. Uh, my mom did not go. So we're all of Croatian descent. She did not go back to the old country till all the wars were over, and it was 58 years, because she was just a baby when she first went back, or when she first left. Excuse me. And I remember asking her, like, so is everybody still fighting over there? Are they still mad at each other or whatever? And she said, quite simply, she goes, you know what? She said, Sina, which means son in Croatian, by the way. She said, Sina, when a mother and a father can see that their children's bellies are full and they have a roof over their head, it's really hard to want to go out and fight with anybody. She goes,
Yeah.
and that's what they have right now. She goes, and it's a funny thing. She goes, yeah, they have their little words here and there, but as long as life is pretty decent, people get along, and as they get along even better. She goes,
Yeah.
most wars are caused by politics anyway, not really individuals. So
Hmm.
I think it's important to remember that. but
Yeah.
but I think, being the seasoned individuals that we are, and seeing the things that are going on this week, I think people are probably just a little bit overburdened with all the so-called bad news. So maybe we should just leave it at the idea that, remember, a lot of really, really good people from all walks of life, gave everything so that we could, in a couple days, sit with our family and friends, enjoy some good food, good drink, which I think if more people just did that with their neighbors, things would be so much better.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, how many people know their neighbors?
yeah,
Talk to their
exactly.
neighbors.
Say
Yeah.
hello, I mean, just say
Yeah.
hello, bring them their paper. It's so easy to be nice. It's so easy to be kind. I think we've forgotten about that. So let's try to do that this Independence Day. And maybe on that note, we're going to introduce to you the nephew, uh, the expert on alcohol. I don't know if that's always a good thing to say within the family here. Like, he'll explain to you what he means by that, but who can explain to us what we're going to be drinking today. But it's nephew Stephen. Hey, Stephen.
Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're
Hey,
glad
how
you're
you
on.
doing, buddy?
This is
Doing pretty
Jesse's
good.
favorite part. You have to explain to us what we're going to be drinking, because he wants to get going.
I don't know about expert on alcohol. I probably know little about a lot, and to be specific, just ethanol beverages from fermentation and distillation.
Well,
Oh,
Who
that's
doesn't enjoy that, right?
that's right.
that's obviously more than we would have ever known already. So we just
I'm
know what tastes good.
I'm not a chemist or in the lab with alcohol. I'm more of a, start you off with your mashing up fruits and breads for toilet wine, and then let's take it a little further into some scotch and tequila.
This is gonna be fun today.
There you go.
So, what I mean, how much do you know about, like? I mean, can you tell us a little bit about the difference between, like, just a scotch and another whiskey or a bourbon? I mean, just the basics, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think the overarching term for all of that brown stuff is whiskey, right? And then every place, and it's basically, and I have friends that are really good at whiskey, so whatever I butcher in here, I'm sure I'll hear about it. But
Well, maybe we'll have them on with you.
yeah, the differences are all basically based on location, what materials are available, what water sources, what things like that. So, you know, a lot of the bourbon is based on some classifications by the government after prohibition on what you could call bourbon. So there's a certain makeup of ingredients that have to be in the fermentation, and then a certain wood that's got to be laid in for a certain amount of time. And it's a way to basically prove that it's not, you know, some junk with other alcohols in it that are not good for you. It's a kind of a way to certify a good product, I guess. And there's various versions of that out there. And there's Tennessee whiskey that goes through a aging process. That's the Lincoln County process, where they use a certain type of wood to charcoal up and then kind of filter, so to speak, or lay the whiskey on it. Different aging techniques. Whiskey in, you know, there's Irish whiskey, and then Scottish whiskey or Scotch is different for chemical makeups of the water and mineral content and stuff like that there. And then a lot of that peatiness that you get in a lot of Scotches is, you know, an abundant material that they had to roast and do that malting process on their grains and stuff before they made beer, because all whiskey is basically from beer. So you have to make beer first out of cereal grains, and then that produces some form of alcohol. Then you distill it to pull the alcohol out, and then age it in wood.
Oh, so it all starts with beer. Hey, Jesse, is there any way to pull that up a little bit out of the shirt? Because every time you move, it's making a lot of sound on the.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Yeah, no, just yeah.
How about
I
that?
think it's the mic. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
So everything starts with beer then, as far as whiskey is concerned. Then.
pretty much. Yeah.
Wow.
It's all going to be barley and some of those other cereal grains there, but barley is the main player in whiskey.
Huh.
So the first one we want to try today, and because we're all in like different areas, we promise, Stephen, for coming on, we'll make sure we save you some of everything. But
Maybe.
yeah,
Maybe not.
Depends on how the show goes. We're going to try the 12-year-old Glenfiddich. So what do you think about this one?
Glenfiddich.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good go-to Scotch. I think you've got some of the brands today that are, probably more common. There is one of my favorite places in the world, the Whiskey in Fort Collins. They have so much stuff that I forget anything I know about whiskey every time I go there because there's so much to learn. But I can keep track of some of these ones. But so Glenfiddich is Speyside, and there's different regions: Speyside, Islay, Highlands for Scotch, and it's just different characteristics of the region of Scotland. So Glenfiddich is Speyside, and under the blanket of William Grant and Sons, which is some famous Scottish stuff out there. So what do you guys have, the 12-year?
Yeah, we got the 12-year.
Nice. Are you guys trying it yet, or?
I think.
Oh, I'm about to.
Okay, let's go.
I have some of this here, but I don't have everything else you guys have.
What do you have? What is that you're drinking?
I have the Glenfiddich 12.
Oh, so yeah. For our, this is the first one.
Tasty, yet refreshing.
Yep. Cheers.
L'chaim.
This is gonna be a funny show by the end. That's pretty good. I've always liked that. You're right. It's a good too. It's something like, I don't know why it is for me, but it seems like I like drinking Scotch. I like drinking in the winter sometimes. It seems more than like in the summer times. It feels, like a Greyhound or something like that. Feels pretty good, or it tastes pretty good. But I tell you right now, I mean, this tastes pretty doggone.
Because it warms
Easy.
your innards.
Yeah,
Yes.
this one's not too hot. Should be like creamy and smooth.
Yes.
And then Glenfiddich, I think one of their biggest things is use American oak and sherry cask, which is common, and then just their like regional spring water. I think a lot of that stuff too is water profile. So you're going to distill it, and then when you proof it, you're adding back in water. So water is part of the process all the way through brewing, and then that changes the chemistry for fermentation, and then you're adding that back in. So just as different mineral waters taste differently, they add that characteristics to the whiskey also.
Oh, this is awesome.
Good deal.
So going back to the beer, I think I understand why. I have a lot of trouble drinking all but maybe a couple different beers. I have no problems drinking whiskey or vodka or rum or anything like that. I think I understand why, but I mean, maybe for our listeners, can you tell me why you think that might be the case and why I'm okay with the one and not the other?
I don't know. I think there's lots of unknowns out there. So if we talk about allergens and stuff like that, I think that gets really tricky. So sometimes people that I'll just do like banana, for example. Some people that are allergic to bananas, they may also be allergic to like a banana ester that is maybe in a Hefeweizen beer where it creates that banana flavor, right? It's an ester of banana, but the ester and the actual fruit, and this is stuff I've picked up along the way, I'm not an expert, but they kind of share the same DNA, so to speak. So you could be allergic to both of those things, right?
Okay.
Even though it's not a banana you're eating and there's no banana in it.
Okay.
So for that, as far as allergens, I don't know. It might be something in the yeast that's created some kind of flavor or off thing, but distillation's also pretty much pulling out it's leaving a lot of stuff behind. So like, for example, beer has lots of carbs, lots of sugar. It's got that body mouthfeel. If you distill it, you're basically just pulling out all the ethanol. Some stuff comes with it, but lots doesn't. And it comes out with no sugar, no carbs in it.
Okay.
A lot of that stuff's left behind. So I'm guessing that you're allergic to something that gets left behind, and that's why you're not allergic to the distilled spirit.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah, and who knows what it is? I mean, that stuff's tricky. There's so much more complexity to talk about, and you really need an expert on the certain things. I guess my biggest area of knowledge is beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, I know a little about a lot of stuff, right? So I know a little about all the processes because they all interest me, but I have not been able to be an expert on whiskey or bourbon or anything like that. I mean, maybe an expert in tasting them, but not in understanding them all the way.
I'd like to think I'm an expert in tasting them. I remember like whiskeys. It's an amazing place to meet. Jesse, have you been there with me?
No, I haven't been invited yet.
Okay, well, you're invited. I don't know. Can we go there yet, Stephen?
I think so. I think they're open now. We could probably reserve a table and do an on-site podcast there one night.
I think we should, because if we could get maybe Jimmy to join us, that would be awesome. Because first of all, he's very entertaining, Jesse, and he is very knowledgeable. And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're like maybe number 2 in the country for the selection of whiskeys they have there. Even though we're just in little town Fort Collins, it's pretty close.
They're I don't know the exact stat right now. I mean, they would know, but they're up there for sure. Like for sure, I would think top 10, if not maybe top 5.
Right.
I think they're over 2,000 or something different whiskeys now. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's amazing. You walk around there like I took my father-in-law in there. In fact, with all that's been going on the last few months, they haven't been able to travel, but Stephen actually has a locker there, and we've got some stuff in there that's been waiting for us for quite a while now. So it's just no, Jesse. It's like I brought him in there one time for his birthday. Yeah, it's aging, so we can't go bad. But I brought my father-in-law there one time for his birthday. I am not kidding you. So do you remember, so he sat down at the bar and he started looking around. Do you remember the movie Rudy, when the other son walks with his father into the stadium and the father says, "My eyes have never seen anything more glorious than," or something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Right? That's what my father-in-law did when he said at the bar. He goes, "Oh my God, my eyes have never seen something more glorious." He goes, I mean, yes, like, "Do you guys have Wellers?" He goes, "Which one?" And they named all of them that they've ever made. And he's just sitting, that's like his favorite, he's like, Oh my gosh, he was taking pictures left and right. It was like, I mean, literally the proverbial kid in the candy store. You know?
Candy cane store.
Yeah, I got in trouble with my mother-in-law for that day, but it was a lot of fun. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
I think one of my favorite things about whiskey is it's kind of like wine. So you go and there's like that $5,000 bottle of wine, right?
Right.
And you may have had a really expensive wine at some point in your life, and it was like, okay, it didn't blow your mind, right? But
Right.
then every once in a while, there's a $15 bottle of wine that is amazing, right?
Right.
Whiskey is kind of the same way. I mean, there's some stuff that is ridiculously expensive. I think at the whiskey you can be hitting over $100 a pour of whiskey because the bottle is so dang expensive and limited, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better just because it's more expensive. So there's exclusive and rare, and maybe it's you know, so sacred or so elusive to get that product that makes it expensive, but it's not necessarily the most expensive. So like when you brought up Weller, they have this Weller Antique 107, and it's a same distillate as Pappy Van Winkle, I believe. So
Really?
the same beer that they make, and then they distill the same thing, and then they just go age it across. And this is a really big operation, right? So the best of the best stuff turns into their best product, and the stuff that doesn't hit the like smelling and tasting mark of the master distillers that decide what that is, that maybe falls into one of the lower line products. So it's like you're getting almost just as amazing of a product for like way less money. And so you don't always have to break the bank to have something awesome. And that's what's cool about going to the whiskey or another like actual whiskey bar with some really intelligible folks, is that you can ask for a recommendation and tell them kind of what you like, and you'll get blown away by a product that's only like, $13 or something. So
No,
it's
and
fun.
you know what? You're
It's fun.
absolutely right about that, because I've been there and I said, like, I like a good old fashioned, and they made one. It was amazing. I said, God, what whiskey is that you're using? I'm like scared, like what it's going to cost. And it was like I don't know, $11 whiskey. It wasn't anything terribly bad. It was
Yeah.
something else. So
Cocktails are a whole nother world too. So once you start mixing stuff, it depends how you make it and what you're using and all
Oh,
that.
Yeah, it changes everything.
Yeah.
yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should do a remote. You know what, Jesse? I got to tell you that don't beat me up here, but I think if you could pull that thing back through so it's at the top of your shirt, it'd be better, because it's making a lot of noise.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll give him a second to.
My question is, why would I beat you up over something?
I'm just trying to be like the 3% in the world right now that the news just keeps following.
Oh,
Yeah. I think the worst part about that whole thing is that there's some good intentions that start off, and then all the 3%, as you guys talk about, jump in, and then
yeah,
use
the
it for,
hooligans.
they
Yeah.
ruin the agenda and
Yeah.
ruin the whole thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I don't
Yeah, it was kind of. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I don't think we should let them do that. I think we should just keep acknowledging the fact that, just like you said, Stephen, I really think that's probably a pretty good number. It's probably fairly close that you got the 3% coming in. They're the ones that are getting all the attention. And it's so easy to forget that, most people are
The whole thing it's for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you know what? You wouldn't have, I think some people want that. Let's keep arguing, right? If you really let, yeah, I know. It's like,
I
no
would say
kidding.
something, but I'm not going to.
but the fact of the matter is, if you let the other 97, 98% talk about things, you'd find out that most of them agree about most of those things. There wouldn't be any argument, but then there wouldn't be any news.
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah. So
Well, some people are so passionate about what they believe. That's great.
Yeah.
If you're that passionate about what you believe, take the time, less the emotion, and explain to me your viewpoint. Because if you can't explain it to me without getting emotional, how am I going to take it without getting emotional? Just
Yeah.
state the facts.
Yeah.
I
That's
believe what
right.
you guys are saying. I mean, it's mostly about your community, and then we just add the level of communicating with each other, right? So
Right.
Yep.
people want to get online and write all this nasty stuff, and they are in a bar with somebody or they're in public and they don't say anything. It's like that's what the bar is for, is a public discourse. We go there,
Yeah.
we disagree on something, and we BS about it for a while and have some drinks and laugh, and maybe at the end we're like, you're crazy, and we don't agree with each other, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's
okay
the
to
freedom
disagree.
that we're going to celebrate this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay to disagree and
Right.
shake hands or hug. And well, you can't do that right now, but
You can't shake hands either.
can't do any of that. See, that's the other problem.
Yeah, but in the rare moments when you have a conversation with somebody
Right.
that you going into it, you think you are complete opposites on.
Right.
If you actually have a decent long conversation with that person, it's almost guaranteed that you'll probably move a little bit from your starting position after the conversation because you learn from each other, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what communication's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And most people, I think it's because, and I'm not going to say ignorant, because that would be a big assumption on my part. But if the shoe fits. Anyway, if you are passionate about what you believe and you can explain to somebody, I like chocolate ice cream because,
Mm-hmm.
and they like strawberry ice cream because, well, talk about it. Why do you like strawberry? Well, these are the flavors, it's the taste. And why do you like chocolate? These are the flavors. So we have this, we like ice cream. We both agree on that, just different flavors.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. People are crazy. But speaking of different flavors, we should
Uh-huh.
move on to the next one.
Okay. So the next one is the one you have out in front of you, Jesse. So you have to show the bottle. So Stephen can go, oh, great. I don't have that one either.
Mm.
Stephen, you just keep drinking and I'll tell you how it tastes. But this is a Caribbean cask. And we were telling me earlier about the several different ones that they have. And I had never seen the Caribbean cask before. And it's a 14-year-old aged, extra mature,
Extra seasoned.
extra seasoned, yes.
Yeah,
What do
so
you-
I think this one, Balvenie is actually I think I've still been trying to prove myself wrong, but I think I found it early and it's my favorite Scotch. It is just so delicious. The Caribbean cask is, I don't even know if that's my favorite of all of them, but it's delicious. There's
Oh, yeah.
Speyside also William Grant and Sons distillery now, but most everything is aged in oak casks first, and then
Oh, that is good.
in
That
this
is really good.
one they finish it in casks that previously held Caribbean rum. So
That's what that is. I was
Caribbean,
wondering
yeah.
what that little aftertaste was. It does have a little bit of that rummish,
What a
almost like a
flavor
sugar.
mon.
Yeah, flavor
Yeah, so
mon.
they dump the rum out and then throw the Scotch in there that's already done its aging in oak, and then
Yeah.
you pick up some of that like vanilla and
That's what
toffee
it
and
is.
stuff from the and a little fruitiness from the rum.
That's
So
really
it just
good.
gives it a whole nother dimension.
I think we're in. It's fun doing this podcast and everything, but you gotta admit that would also be a really good career. You're sitting around going, I wonder if we pour the Scotch in here, what that's gonna. Well, let's try it.
Yeah.
That's your job. I mean, that's your job to sit around and decide. Let's see how we can make this taste better, and then you have to, of course, taste it. I mean, it's just
And
Probably
more
the-
than once, obviously.
yeah.
Probably the funnest part of being in the beer industry was oak aging stuff in beer production. I love all the stuff that comes from barrels. We used Scotch barrels. We had some sherry, lots of bourbon stuff, but man, the flavors you can get out of stuff is pretty awesome with what spirits were already in there. I think Jameson and Guinness have like the biggest commercial relationship now. So they take American oak barrels, they age, I believe it's American oak, they age Jameson in it to create their whiskey normally. Then they ship the barrels over to Guinness at St. James Gate, and then which is, I don't know how far down the street, but somewhere over there. And then they age Guinness in it. So then they have Jameson barrel aged Guinness,
Oh,
and then they
man.
sell the barrels back to Jameson, and then they age Jameson, I think it's their cask mates, or I believe, but that's the one where they age Jameson back in the barrels after the dark beer was in there. So you get just like another
my
level of
gosh.
complexity every time.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that all sounds good, and I love Guinness. Guinness is one of the beers I actually can enjoy. So I always found that, I know we're getting off the whiskey for a second, but I always found that interesting that you can have a Guinness and it has like what half the calories of any other beer, and you think you're having a chocolate shake or a coffee shake.
Yeah. Yeah, the color of beer does not indicate the like body or heaviness of it, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, but I always, it feels like you're getting more as far as the caloric intake, and you're really not, which is,
Yeah.
that's a good combination.
Jameson's a pretty, so dry Irish stout is fermented dry, so there's not a lot of residual sugar left, and it's not huge in body or alcohol content. So it's probably better than your run-of-the-mill IPA out there as far as nutrition.
Oh,
Not
Yeah.
that there's much nutrition in drinking poison, which is what we're doing, but
Why you could be like that?
just got to be
Man,
honest
you-
and real about life.
yeah, well, you almost killed the mood, but here, I'm going to have a little bit more poison.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a donut is poison too. So
Yeah.
everything in moderation, right?
Right.
Damn Skippy.
And we'll decide what moderation is. Unless it comes to sake, then we have no control
Oh, we
whatsoever.
have no control over that.
And Steven, you fall right in that category. I know you do.
Yeah.
Hey, sake's beer too, huh?
Yeah. When are you gonna have the master on? Can't wait for that podcast.
I'll leave that to Hanshi.
Hanshi, yeah.
He's whining a little bit. I haven't been up in a while to see him, and
Oh.
he's a little bent out of shape. But mind you, I've known this guy for over 40 years, so I knew him when I was living in Japan. Yeah, barely. So they're open. So, but
Yeah.
I've been gone. I mean, he just needs to take a deep breath and remember I love him, no matter what kind of a butt he is.
Yeah, a lot of people love him. He's, real quick, Jesse, I don't think we've ever explained this, and we probably should. So every once in a while, you hear me say Hanshi, right? And if I get this wrong, then correct me. But basically, it's a lot of people say sensei. When I first met Jesse, it was because I met him at his dojo. Hanshi is basically teacher of teachers. Is that correct?
That's
pretty
correct.
close. Yeah. And so a lot of times when I'm, hey, explain this or whatever, I might use that term instead of calling him by his first name. It's out of respect, and also like, okay, it's a teaching moment. So I might use that term. So just so people out there, if they're not aware, when I say that, it's not just a nickname, it's actually a title. So anyway, get that out of the way. So I think we're obviously, even though it's not my first choice, there are a few, we're going to have to do one of these, Steven, with beer, because I think people would be amazed at how much is involved with beer. But I really do think it would be a good idea. Maybe if you could, I could do it too, but I think you know him better than I do. Give Jimmy over there Whiskey's a holler and see if he'd be interested in just doing something at the table there and talking about the different. I think our listeners would enjoy it. I mean, it's a fun place to go to.
And this is something we were talking about also. We're going to probably do some wine and food pairings and get everybody's opinion and do some whiskey tasting and some more scotch tasting.
Yes.
And we're going to open it up to our listeners. So you guys will be able to come and participate and tell us how you feel. And we want to get your input on it too. And then, of course, before you can partake or while you're partaking, we'll be answering questions and kind of going over what in today's world you really appreciate. We don't want to really get into, oh, I hated this or I hated that. We all have things that drive us crazy.
Yeah.
But we live in the greatest country on the planet.
Mhm.
There's things we should be appreciative of.
Yeah.
One of them is we can do a podcast. We can drink some great scotch. We can talk about our favorite places. Life is full of experiences. And so many people now are not taking advantage of that.
Right.
They're not living their life. So get out there and live.
I
You really live your life hanging out with us.
That's
'Cause
right.
We have a ball.
That's right. We're starting a movement, and the movement is we just need to get people together and have a good time. You know,
Yep.
we'll talk about the other things, current events, and go, yeah, that there's some truth, there's some, but I'm a little tired of no matter like what channel you turn on, no matter what side you're on, it's always a big battle. Life's too short. Life is
Yeah,
too
it
short.
is.
You know,
You should be enjoying every minute.
enjoy every minute. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Remember, like if there is an issue, we have a system in this country that took a long time to refine, and it's still getting refined. It still needs work, but there's a process. It's not just let's write something dirty on a social media outlet, or let's go tear something down. There's better ways to deal with that. But I think a lot of the issues for the 98% of the people would be just let's get together, have some good food, have some good drinks, and a lot of those other issues will basically melt away.
Yeah. Well,
So,
another thing too, people think you can't complain if you didn't vote.
yes,
If you didn't vote, then you need to shut up.
yeah.
So if you have a problem, vote.
Don't hold
Let
back,
people know
Jesse.
how you feel.
Don't hold back. Tell them what you're really thinking.
A lot of people died for everybody's right to vote.
That's right.
A lot of people marched in silent protest and without rioting and got the vote. So vote. Express how you feel. Do it in a way that's not demeaning or that people tend to listen to you when you're speaking in a calm voice and you have all your facts and all your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
I agree. Here.
Here. Let's have another drink.
Okay, so the next one's one of my favorite. And let me go grab the bottle. That's a long way over there from the Supermax facility here in Fort Collins, Southridge Supermax
Hey, are you
facility.
allowed to have, in this day and age, John Wayne in the background right there?
You tell him he can't be there. So I had him
Sorry.
no, it's okay. We had him, Jesse said he has to be there. So you deal with Jesse.
I was talking about current events.
Yeah, I know. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I had him in the front window, and then and people would walk by, and then I'd when things got worse with the other thing, I put a mask on all kinds of stuff. And we have a lot of people where we live here that walk by or golf or whatever. And then Stephanie, who obviously is the brains in the outfit, said,
Obviously.
yeah, without a doubt, said, dear, she goes, that's really cool that he's there. And maybe you should consider just putting him out for special events or holidays because, he's got that special paint and everything. If you leave him in the sun all the time, it's going to fade. So I moved him here into the podcast room, down in the dungeon. And since I've done that, I cannot tell you. In fact, I think you've been here, Jesse, when people are walking by, go, where's John?
Where's John?
Yeah, where's John?
John's like,
you got to bring him out for the 4th? Yeah, I got to bring him out for the 4th. I got to bring him out for Halloween. I got to bring him out for Christmas. We dress him up like Santa Claus for Christmas. We bring him out for Halloween, and he's got a little sign that says "Trick or Treat, Pilgrim." So I mean, we'll cover all the angles, but yeah, he's there. And this is too small to read, so hold on a second. So if you're watching on YouTube, hopefully, maybe
more.
How's that?
More to your right. There you go.
Okay. That's the website. Are you ready to roll at gmail.com? And there's the Twitter. So you have
Are you
to.
ready to roll at Gmail? And 2 is a number 2 for
Yes.
people only listening.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. A great one.
Like you said, Stephanie's the brain behind the
Well,
operation.
and they get smarter as generations go on, they get smarter. That's pretty obvious. So whatever. Don't let it go to his head. We have that. We real quick, and Stephen, we're not trying to before we get to talking about Glenn Morangi, I don't want to forget, because we promised we were going to do a movie review, but we can't do that today because one of us was in Florida training with canines and hasn't had a chance to watch the movie. So we're going to move that to the next podcast. I don't want you to think we forgot. We promised we were going to do it. We apologize. Technical difficulties beyond our control.
Yeah.
Did you have
i.e. no Wi-Fi and no Wi-Fi in the facility we were staying.
Yeah. So we apologize for
So-
that. We'll do that. We'll do that the following podcast. I made sure one of us got through most of it. Somebody else is just having technical difficulties, so we won't mention any names. But so what is it? It's Five Bloods, right? Yeah.
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 The Five Bloods.
It was interesting, but we'll talk about it next week. So Stephen, tell us about the hell we drinking right now. Oh yeah, Glenmorangie.
Glenmorangie.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, don't let him out tonight.
Got no place to go.
That's right. You got to have a mask.
Yeah.
Which one do you guys have? The 12-year, 14?
I got the 14 in the port barrel.
There's a bunch of them. Oh yeah, so this one's same as a Caribbean cask. Instead of finished in rum casks, they do their normal kind of 12-year in oak, and then they finish it for a couple years, 2 more years in port cask.
So it's two casks then. I did not realize that.
Yeah, so they move it over, and all of this whiskey, I think they do a lot of marrying and blending and all this stuff. So that's how they get all these variations. But at the end of the day, they're probably making the same beer.
Okay.
It's not drinkable as beer, but it's beer, right?
Right.
And then they ferment it, or then they distill it, and then they do all the various aging, which creates all the different
Flavors.
flavor profiles. So yeah, the 14 is like probably the same stock, and they take some of it from their 12-year, and then they go further a couple years in port cask.
Wow. So, Kampai.
Kampai.
Hopefully, got some chocolate, maybe some cigar wrapper, hazelnut.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me that's not good.
How can I say it's not good? It's
Sounds real
good.
good.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. This is dangerous. This is dangerous.
That's why I said that's all I'm having.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever.
Now, quick question.
I've heard that before. How many years?
Lots of years, decades.
Wait. Before, hold your thought. Stephen, one time, and so just for the audience, Stephen has been with us at Nemo's drinking sake, and we've gone through a noticeable amount of sake, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad or pretty good, depending on who you're talking to or asking for their opinion. When I remember, not about a year ago, we were there, and when Nemo starts yelling to the rest of the restaurant, "Hey, shut up over there. Bottle number 5." They are the champs.
That was a special evening.
Yeah, and the fact that I can even remember that is,
I think people may need more context on what Nemo's is and who he is. And when you're drinking 5 bottles of sake, they're also not 250 milliliter bottles.
no.
But
They're the
also
liter
you're not-
bottles.
But also you're not there for an hour, because it's a totally different experience that's out of this world. Well, maybe out of this country
Yeah.
for most places, but is really like the best dining experience I've ever had.
Oh yeah. So Jesse, I think probably I'll leave this one to you to describe it. I don't think people understand that what we have here in the Choice City is basically a guy and a family in a restaurant that is far and above what normally you would have a population this size.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a little bit of history, and I don't want to go too much into this, but and we're going to have him on the show.
Yeah.
So I've known Nemo
That's
for
up to
over,
you.
I've known him for over 40 years. It's coming up on, it's a long time.
Yeah.
That's-
Long
that's
time.
how long. Long time. Love you long time, Joe. Anyway, I met him in Japan when I used to live there and going back and forth to school. And he basically asked me if he was to go to the United States, where would he go?
Right.
And I said, I gave him a couple options. And he goes, well, good idea. So then I kind of lost track of him. I was training with on a martial arts circuit. So it was, I traveled all over Europe, everywhere. So then I ran into him again, like 10 years later in Denver, Colorado.
Small world.
Yeah. So
Small
it's like
world.
Small world.
Inside joke.
Yeah, inside joke. I miss that guy too. But anyway, so I ran into him in Denver, and he asked me where would I go. I want to stay in Colorado. He worked for another guy at the time who was, well, I'm not going to get into all that drama, but it was time for him to go, time for him to strike out on his own. And I gave him two options, Boulder and Fort Collins. And then after a day, I went back to the restaurant he was at in Denver and said, there's only one place I'd go, looking at your level of expertise. And it was Fort Collins. I said, go to Fort Collins. So then again, I lost track of him. I worked with another company. I was traveling internationally and really didn't have time. And then I came back home and said, I need to open up a martial arts school here in Fort Collins and not be traveling all over the world. So I had done some other things, and when I grow up, I'll make a decision what I want to do. So I just happened to be going down the street. One of my kids was going to CSU, and I had my karate school going for a year, martial arts school. And I looked over, and there he is. So we've reconnected, and it's just bizarre the way it all worked out. But anyway, so I went to my martial arts school. We had, I don't know, a couple hundred folks participating at the time. And I told every class, hey, I don't care. Go ahead, Paul, you tell this part. What did I tell you about where you ate sushi?
Yeah, one day he goes, he's asking, so do you like sushi? I go, yeah. My uncle was Okinawan. I learned all about sushi in Hawaii and everything. And I know, probably more than the average person about it. He goes, where do you eat the sushi here? And I told him where it was. I'm not going to say the name. All he said was, not anymore. I go, what? He goes, yeah, from now on you eat over here. I go, I never heard of that place. He goes, well, he just opened. So I said, okay. And that's what he told everybody in the school. And so like, we're all going over there to eat or whatever. So I went there. Stephen, I was dating your aunt. I wasn't even married yet. That's how long we've been going to eat there, right? And we went there one night, and he just opened. So a lot of people didn't know that he was actually open there yet, right? So we got to sit at the bar, which is, I didn't realize, actually a big deal. And we ordered, a lot of different food, and we're sitting there. It's really funny. So a few like college students walk in, and it goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Stephen. It's like, people don't understand, like a lot of places, a lot of like American restaurants you go to, and they want to get you in and get you out. Culturally, like if you're doing really well, the biggest compliment you can have by going to his restaurant is that it takes forever to get your food, because he wants you to sit there and relax and drink and enjoy all the pieces as he brings it to you little by little. Okay. Really savor, life. And so anyway,
can I interject really quick?
Sure. Go ahead.
So if you go to your family's house or somewhere that has the best food and company,
right,
do you go and show up and cram your food and leave?
No.
So if you're at an amazing dining experience, why would that be your expectation? Because like outside of a couple restaurants that are, like what you're talking about right now, there's nothing else than sitting with my family and eating food and picking it off the grill and having a little bite of this and a little bite of that and drinks, and you're there for 4 or 5 hours. Like, I'm pretty sure, I know me, but I'm pretty sure all people probably would align with something like that as some of their best meals, right? So how could a dining experience you pay for not be the same thing?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but I don't think that's something they're used to, though. They don't. It's not something they're accustomed to, because that's not how most restaurants are. It's all about
it's a fast food culture.
Yes. But anyway, we were sitting there eating, and Jesse was not there. He just said, "That's where you go." So we're out on a date, right? And we're eating, and as it always is, it was amazing. And I'm like, oh. And he does certain things, like he makes us a burri, which little side note. So when we were growing up, your great grandpa was a commercial fisherman. And I know you know the story, but just to bring into context for the audience, every once in a while he'd bring home like a bonita or something off the boat, and he'd put it on the kettle barbecue, and he'd cook it and really slow. And all he would do with that fish is, besides cleaning it, would be to sprinkle some salt and pepper and olive oil on it, and it would cook it really slow in that thing. And then when it was just about ready, he'd say, "Go ahead," and we'd pick off the grill this fish. And it almost made me cry the first time he made it. But Nemo makes this thing called a buri, which is basically taking that same kind of fish and then torching it really quickly to basically get the same effect that we had when I was like 9 years old, like with your dad and everybody else just eating that. It just brings back such good memories. What it tells me is two things. One, that the world is much smaller than people want to admit, because what Nemo's making there, and he learned that in Japan, they were making that in Croatia and then in San Pedro, right? It tastes exactly the same. There's not one time I've ever gone there where I can't order that, because it's a staple. I have to have it. But it's a place where you go and you realize that it's much more about not just the food and the quality of the food. It's about the delivery. It's about the fact
the
that
experience.
you feel like you exactly what Stephen was saying is it's part of a family,
Yeah.
and some people just don't get it. But anyway, we're there. Some college kids come in. I think it was like 5 of them. They sit down and they don't get served any food right away. They get their drinks or whatever. No food right away. All of a sudden, they take their chopsticks and they start tapping them on the glasses, which, for those who don't know,
Is very rude.
yeah, very rude. Very rude. You do not do that. I did not know Nemo. This is the first time I saw the man. He walked around the bar. I think he actually forgot that he still had a knife in his hand.
No, he didn't forget he had a knife in his hand. No, he didn't forget he had a knife in his hand.
He walked over and told him to get the hell out of his restaurant. And now I'm in a bad spot, because I'm thinking, oh my God, Hanshi has told me what a great friend this guy is. If he gets hurt, I'm going to get my ass kicked. So I'm standing behind him, right? And he's yelling at these guys, get out of here. And then he gives them the speech. He says, look, when you come into my restaurant, I have one rule. And that is, when you come in, my goal is that when you leave, you're happier than when you came in. He goes, but that takes time. He goes, you have no respect for anything. Get out now. And he's swinging his arm around, which had this really, like, what, I don't know, $1,100 sushi knife in it.
Yeah, sharp sushi.
Yeah, sharp sushi knife. Yeah, you could dissect just about anything. And they all got up and left. And I sat back down and I looked at what was soon to be my wife, right? And I said, we don't go anywhere else. This guy is awesome. That's what, 30 years now. So anyway.
Now, without fail, I must mention this. He wouldn't be half the man he is without his wife.
Oh, no, the whole family is awesome.
Yeah, the whole
awesome.
family's awesome.
They're all awesome.
Yeah. Did you go to school with, or about the same year anyway, as with the one son, right?
Couple years older, I think.
Oh, okay.
But I knew him. He was friends with one of my friend's brother. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great family. It's a great
Yeah.
family. You really, you're protected there. Our kids were eating sushi since they were 8 months old. And I'm sorry, Steve, I got to tell this real quick. In fact, one time some people came in and said, how come they get to sit at the bar? Those kids are in high chairs. And Nemo goes, they eat more sushi than you. Shut up. Sit down.
It's funny. It's funny. Like, if I'm going there and like, or people, I talk about like inviting somebody there,
Right.
There's like a short list of
Yeah,
good
really.
people that I would invite there, because it's like, you're going to ruin it for me or something, or
Yeah.
you expect to get in and out. And I don't know.
That's not what it's all about.
I think that he's a great, it's funny that it comes up. It ties into everything that's going on in the world right now. It's like, we're all the same. People that live by the ocean get fish and then use fire to cook it, like Japan, Croatia, California. It's all the same thing. We're all just people that want to enjoy life and get along. And then the same thing there is like, the best dining experience is something that you would experience with your family, right?
Exactly.
You don't go over to your uncle's house and tap your glass waiting for your food. You
Right.
sit there and have a drink and you stare at the barbecue for an hour and you talk to each other. And Nemo does that too. He talks to you and he talks smack to you just like your family would.
Right.
And
And he drinks with you
you can't feel any better than that after a dining experience. It's not possible.
because
And people that go in there and expect the newest roll that someone created on TikTok that's at this sushi restaurant in wherever, like, don't go there with that, because that's not what it's about. It's
No.
about good quality food and that family and culture and stuff like that. And that's what's really
You're absolutely right.
we're losing. What's the most important thing that
Yeah.
everybody enjoys.
You're absolutely right. You go in there, you're part of the family. You really are. He treats
Yeah.
you like family. I mean,
Yep.
Yep.
yeah. Enough about that guy. I know this
Yeah.
guy. Oh, no painting houses today?
No carpentry either.
No, three good scotches and we're pretty mellow.
Pretty mellow, hey, you know.
Yeah.
But they're short. I mean, they're small. But
Yeah. Well,
what's
we
a
have
guy
more.
to do?
Don't rub it in. He's not here. He can't partake, like, you know, and that's not fair. So I don't know. Is there anything else we really need to do today, or should we call it a night? And
Yeah, we'll talk more about my canine class next week too.
yes.
Just to mention, now I totally understand why people say I'd much rather be around my dog than anybody else.
Indeed.
Dogs are the best.
Yeah. Hey, Stephen, talk to our friend over there and see if maybe we can work something out doing that. And to everybody listening, we appreciate you that you're listening. Please subscribe. If you got something you want us to talk about or investigate or just, you know, have fun with, email us, you know, are you ready to roll? The number 2 at gmail.com. And we'll see you guys next week.
Happy 4th of July.
Oh,
Oh, legalized freedom.
Legalized freedom.
Yeah,
Okay.
serious.